Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Well, this is this conversation we're going to have about real estate is so close to my heart because everywhere you see here in South Florida, someone's either buying, selling, or wanting to buy or sell their home. But the real key is there are a lot of people who say they're in the real estate market, but are they really? And what they are people who are kind of like hoping to become good in real estate. So I like to deal with people who have lots of experience. They're good people, they're kind, they're smart, and we're so lucky here because we have Anthony Kulp, who we met, I guess, about 3 or 4 months ago, and I knew he was a winner. And I don't have a property right now, but let me tell you, he's the one I would work with. So, Anthony, you really have been doing this a long time, and you are certainly experienced. But you know why I like you? Because you like the people you deal with. You're not just doing this as a shoe salesman. Call them, sometimes they're shoe salesmen, then become a real estate, broker, right?
Right, absolutely. I'm lucky. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I don't want to say I pick and choose, but I gravitate towards the people that I really hit it off with.
Yeah, and I can see that. Well, there are a lot of topics that we can talk about. One that's really important to me, since I have Charlie, emotional support. And I'm very fortunate because I do live in a condominium that they not only allow dogs, they have dog treats in the lobby for their dogs. But that's not always the case. And I was so happy to hear that you really are very well informed as a realtor. And I think anybody who has a pet and you're looking to buy whatever kind of piece of property to live in, you'll want to talk to Anthony. He will help you. He won't let you go astray, as they say.
Yeah, well, we try.
So tell us a little bit about what it entails to emotional support dogs.
Well, an emotional support animal mainly has to deal with housing. You have emotional support, you have service animals. And once you have an emotional support animal, it becomes a service animal. And that animal has to obey, just like a service animal that would service the blind or somebody who's handicapped. And what that would entail is when you're in a restaurant, the animal, and mainly it's dogs, has to obey commands. It's supposed to sit under the table or next to you, can't be distracted by food, other people, or other animals. And if they are, the owner of the restaurant or the public area, they can ask you to remove the dogs. So people have to be careful. They should train their dogs. I mean, it's only being polite to everybody around you. And so if you do have a dog that can be distracted by other dogs or people, sit outside the restaurant or, scan the area, see if there's already a dog in there. The last thing everybody else eating wants to see is two dogs going at it, while they're eating.
But let's just talk about someone who you're now taking around because they want to buy a home or a condo. And I'm sure the first thing you ask them is, do you have a pet? Because it could be a cat, too.
Absolutely.
Right. And so how do you deal with this? Because you're very smart. You know the places that will allow dogs or cats. And then there are places that say they won't, but then you have some other ways, right?
Well, the majority of condominiums in South Florida, the rule is no pets. So, but more people own pets now than ever before, percentage-wise. And more of my customers, when I first started in real estate 20 years ago, this was a non-issue. It was black and white. Either they allowed pets or they didn't. Now, service animals can go anywhere. You don't even look at a service animal the wrong way. So, they have to have the right paperwork, and you have to deal with the management company. Just recently, there was a huge lawsuit with Broward County. They brought a lawsuit to the federal government against a management company for not allowing a woman to move in with her emotional support animal. And not only did they win, but the judge made it clear to any other management companies, do not come into my courtroom. This is a done deal. And the woman was paid for pain and suffering. All the lawyers' fees were paid back to Broward County. And from what I understand, the management company is going to have to pay punitive damages. So
what does that tell you, and what does that do to help you with people? I mean, it's always better not to have to go through all that legality, right?
Have your documents in order. You have to have your letter from your caregiver stating that, your emotional support animal is helping you, and there's several different health benefits to having an emotional support animal. You need to have, the animal has to be updated with all the shots. Of course, you have to have a license. And then the community will ask for a picture along with that other information, and they may ask for some other information as well.
In my opinion, if you have a pet and you're looking for a fantastic first-class real estate agent, you want to call Anthony Kulp. And it's a good time for me to give Anthony's phone number out. So remember, it's Pencil Talk Radio. Get your pencils out. It's 954-815-9048. And so because a lot of realtors have no idea about this, or some of them could care less because you, of course, and I have pets, so we do know how important it is. Okay, one thing everyone should know is Anthony has been writing now a column regarding this in the Boomer Times. He has his ad, and then he has a column. He started to write about this because he thought, and I suggested he do this because I've never heard anyone as smart as Anthony about real estate.
You're too kind.
This. No, but it's true. I've been in the business, and I know that a lot of people have animals, and they say, well, I can't live there, I can't live here. And I never heard what you told me before. So I'm going to always recommend that they talk to you, and you'll help them. Okay, there are other things in real estate. The one thing that I think is critical, and you brought this up, is security, home security. Talk about that.
Well, the number one reason people used to move in the past, before all this crazy housing market that started back in 1999, was for security, to live in a nicer neighborhood, maybe a safer neighborhood, maybe, less congested. That's why people moved out to the suburbs. And now security is a big thing, especially if you live alone, if you're older and you live alone. And, there's the basic security that we all know. Make sure your door is locked. Make sure your windows are locked. Now as we get even older and you live alone, living in a condominium, is the front door to the vestibule, is that locked? Is it, the elevator secure? Should I live on the first floor? Am I comfortable living on the first floor?
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, and impact windows. Impact windows increase the safety in your home greatly. In order to break an impact window, you have to hit it and hit it and hit it. It's not just as simple as breaking a piece of glass and they open the window. They have to sit there and smash at it, like you would a windshield.
See, I was thinking of impact windows for hurricanes, but you're telling me it's for safety.
No, home safety. It's great home safety. Because no one's going to sit there and hammer away at a window, especially if you're in the house. By the time they get through, the police will have them in the back of the car. So, know your neighbors. If you come home and you find somebody's been in your house, or if you feel like somebody's been in your house, call the police. Don't go in. Call the police. Cameras are great, but cameras are only after the fact. After something happens, then you can go on the camera and watch it happen and be traumatized by watching somebody go through your house or enter your house.
So when you're selling property, let's just take private homes first. You're selling property. Can't they get an ADT? I see that's on the outside. They get a security so that when you go in your house, you hit the buttons and then...
Security systems now are just so outstanding. If you have a smartphone, you can have a camera in your house that will signal you to let you know there's movement in the house. Now, for people like us who have pets, and the pet is going from one room to the next, we like to keep an eye on the pets because you'd be surprised what your pets do when you're not home. But it's a great, somebody walks up to the door and rings the doorbell. It'll signal you on the phone. They don't know if you're in the house or if you're
I see
at
those
work.
TV commercials.
Absolutely.
You better leave.
That's right. We have a big problem now. I probably get a package from Amazon once a week, at least once a week, probably more like 3 times a week. And we tell them to leave it at the front door. Now, I live in a development where there's security driving around all the time, so I'm not too worried about it. And most of the time, I'm not buying an expensive item. It's more like dog food and cat litter, stuff like that no one's going to run off with.
So you're saying packages could be valuable, and people know that, so they could steal those packages.
Right. One of the things I think you're going to see in the future with single-family homes, you're going to see foyers with 2 doors. So the first door will be locked, and it'll go into the foyer. Then you'll have another door that goes into the home, like you would see in cold areas like Chicago. Is almost every home is like that. And the reason for this, when Amazon, FedEx, or somebody is there, you'll be able to buzz them in from your phone, and they can put it inside, and then when the door shuts, it's locked again, but they don't have access into the home.
I never heard that. You're so smart. Oh,
you're going to start to see that on homes. Or they'll have a separate area where you can put the package. Sometimes, if it's something a little more valuable, I'll put instructions to leave it in the garage.
So if you're taking people around and they don't quite know what you know, must be a very important question you say. How important is security? Because there are gated communities and there are just locations where people have their homes. It's not they'd have to do their own security in their home, right?
Right.
So you probably guide them and say, well, knowing you, I think this would be a better place for you, right?
It's tread lightly. You don't want to be taking somebody out to look at homes and start to tell them, create all this fear. As you're working with them and you get to learn their personality and, you can see if they're worried by listening to what they say. And then you can start to look in those areas. Now, some people just say, I want to be in a gated community. I want to be in a community where there's security driving around, which makes my job much easier. But some people won't let you know their vulnerabilities. And, you have to kind of read them and get to know them.
And I think you do that so well. That's what makes you so successful. So my guest is Anthony Kulp, and he's really looking for people who want to buy and who want to sell their home or their condo. And, this is and for most people, that's probably the largest asset that they have.
Absolutely.
Or that they're going to have, right?
Absolutely.
And they really have to be careful about it. And there are a lot of people out there just like, everywhere that they, especially now in the society we live with the internet and all, you really need to ask this person, how long have you been in business? Can I talk to one of your or a couple of your clients or your sellers or your buyers? I know you must have lots of people that say, sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't you feel that's important?
Yes. Getting to know the buyer is the big thing. It also helps to know a little bit more than just buying and selling a house. Because really, anyone can open a door and walk around and point out, the good. Realtors will point out the obvious, and they'll say, it has crown molding and there's granite countertops, which obviously you can see. But if it helps if you know a little bit about construction and say, I noticed that it has a new fuse box, or it looks like they just replaced, the bathroom. They may not have done it in the last year, but they may have done it in the last 10 years. Point out that the windows are impacted, because a lot of people can't tell. Just by looking at a window, I have to go over and knock on it to see if it has that deep bass sound to it, then it's impacted. If it has that typical window rattle, then it doesn't. So
but in a listing, doesn't it say that usually?
It does, but you're taking people out to look at maybe 5 or 6 homes, and it gets confusing. Mm-hmm. And, you want to be able to point that out one house to the other. I've been in this business in the housing business since I was 14 years old. So now put your pencils down. I don't want you to do the math, but I'm 54 now. So it lets you know how long I've been in the business. And that helped in the beginning. That's all I knew was the construction.
Yeah. So, okay, well, that's the other part of you, what other people haven't done, the construction part. So how important is that really to someone?
Well, people come to South Florida and they hear termites. Now, all of our construction down here, the vast majority of it is concrete block. So when you go into a home and the home is a wooden home, you should let people know, and it's important to find out whether there were any termite inspections. And of course, if you're getting financing, you are going to get a termite inspection. But if there were any termite treatments, and if there was there any structural damage? Every home in South Florida has had termites at one time or another.
So, that's interesting. Yeah. So, but new homes, you don't have to worry about that.
Oh, no. New homes, when I was building homes, there were times where the wood was delivered to the site and it already had termites in it.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, so here you are. You're a real estate agent. I call you one of the star real estate agents. And how do people find you? Other than, of course, they see your ad in Boomer Times and they call, and I'll give that number again. It's 954-815-9048. You are online, too, and you do.
I am online.
Yeah.
It's www.realestatesofl.com.
Right. But don't you get a lot of referrals?
The vast amount of my business is through referrals, which is great. That's if somebody only refers you if you did a good job for them.
Right. Yeah, that's really true. And I remember, when I worked many years ago in real estate, I always just got referrals. I don't think I even had to advertise, but I was with a very large company, too, and that helped also. But you're on your own in a way.
Correct.
And it's probably better because you do get to pick and choose. And the one thing I want to suggest is anyone's listening and they want to get something, buy something, sell something. You told me a story about something that I think is really important. If you are alone down here and you are going to sell your home, you need to let your family know ahead of time what's going on, because maybe something will happen and
Right.
you won't be around. And if things are important to you, they could all go into the dumpster or something.
Right.
So why don't you talk about that?
Well, when you're setting up your estate, in many cases, your executor or executrix, the person who's taking care of your estate, may live out of state or may live far away. And they're only going to have a short period of time to deal with it. So if you leave detailed instructions, I want to leave this person or this piece of furniture to my niece. And, it even comes down to when my house is to be sold, I want it with this realtor because I've known this realtor and they're very highly qualified. And it just makes it so much easier for the executor. There have been times
I want you to talk about that incident. I couldn't believe what you told me.
There has been times with me that the family only had a week or two to come down, and they would not have time to liquidate and clear out the house, and they would just say to me, "You're going to have to take care of it." And they didn't want to hear about any bills or having to pay people to do it. They just wanted it taken care of. And in one,
they were lucky they found you, because a lot of brokers wouldn't do that.
In one case, I had a condominium, and the gentleman never came down to take care of it. And a few days before settlement, he said, "Well, you're going to have to deal with it." And I just started making phone calls and gave the furniture away. I had Faith Farm. Faith Farm was excellent. They came out and they took all the books, all of the kitchen flatware, and they were just great. They took all of the furniture and were able to sell it.
But I think what you said is really the main feature of this, especially if you're alone. Make preparation ahead of time. We all talk about a will and we talk about our trust, but I hadn't really thought about this until you said that okay, if something happens, I am selling my home and such and such should go there or do this.
Correct.
And take care of it ahead of time.
Absolutely. It's the responsible thing to do.
So as a realtor, and you deal with older people, do you mention this when do you ask them that in selling your property, have you made arrangements? And, because, they're moving trucks.
Absolutely.
All sorts of things.
It's a difficult conversation to have, but it's really necessary.
It is.
And when somebody takes title to a home, and you ask them, in your estate planning, have you decided who's going to get your home, or is it going to be sold? And that affects how you're going to take title to it.
Yeah, you said that, which I thought was interesting. I hadn't heard that either, that it used to be that they would just, it would be their name. But now you're telling me people are putting their kids' names on a lot of the title.
Right. And not only that, their grandchildren, because people are living longer now. And, the next generation has done pretty well. But the grandkids, who knows what's going to happen? There's very few pensions anymore. So you may want to put the house into your grandkids' name. So if something, it's called right of survivorship. So if something should happen to you, it's in their name already. There's nothing that has to be done. And then they can take the home from there. But let them know.
Do you know, Anthony, what I like about you so much, besides being nice and sweet and kind and fun and all that, it's smart. You do know a lot of things that I have not heard about before. And, and I said I had been in the real estate business. I never asked those questions. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
So you've just done this because you've been around so long, or you've...
Well, that, and I'm a senior real estate specialist. I
Very important.
mainly deal with senior citizens, and these are things that come up. and have to be dealt with.
Yeah, I don't say that enough, and I think that's important. That's what you are. You are someone who specializes in, and seniors, do need your help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, okay, so I do want to ask a few things. So let's say someone now is listening and they want to sell their home or their condo, and they're looking for someone to do that. How do they judge who they give it to?
Well, experience is, asking somebody about their experience. Do they advertise? And, it's a feeling. You may interview several realtors, but one is going to give you that feeling that this is just the right person. This is the person I'm going to be able to talk to. This is the person I'm going to be able to talk to if things get rough. And you just get the feeling.
Okay, so let's just talk. So now let's say you get the listing. And of course, that's always been a joke in when I was doing this, because everybody wants to make a lot more money than they really are, and that's fine. If you want to make a lot of money, and you're willing to wait 3 years to sell your home, that's one thing, right?
Right?
But I think it takes an experienced broker like you to tell them what the comps are and say, look, price always will determine how quickly something sells, doesn't it?
Exactly. I give people 3 listing prices. The first listing price, this is your home should sell quicker at this price, because this is exactly what the comp sold for. The second listing price is you're going to be on the market for a little while, but somebody may come up to your price. And usually that price is because their home may be more updated than the other homes that sold. And then the third price is, what do you want? And, of course, everybody wants more from their house than the buyers are willing to pay for it. And that's the price that I can't tell you how long your house is going to be on the market, because we're waiting for that one person who has the exact same taste that you have that's willing to pay for it to buy your house. And then we have to go through the appraisal process. And that's where it gets 50-50, whether your house is going appraised.
We'll talk about that.
Well, if somebody's getting a loan, which in South Florida, it's about 50% of the time with the people I deal with, the bank wants to appraise the home. They want to make sure that they're lending on a home that's, not overvalued. And so the appraiser's going to come out, and the appraiser's going to go by the comps. And you may have an updated kitchen, you may have more landscaping, but the appraiser isn't going to look at that. You have to have a kitchen in your house. So if you have a house that's a $300,000 house and you put a $60,000 kitchen in it, well, your kitchen, the cost of your kitchen shouldn't be any more than 15% of the value of the house. So, and again, how long ago did you put the kitchen in? So now some people may be selling to a lot of my customers who just moved into a senior living. It wasn't that important that they got that extra $5,000 or $10,000. It was more important to get the house sold so they could get comfortable. Because as we get older, it's harder and harder to move each time.
Sure.
And then I have other people who need every dollar they can get out of it, and living there isn't costing them more than what they can afford, so maybe they can wait for the price they want.
No, but as you're talking about that, I was thinking that people, though, their expectations, that's very stressful for someone to have something for a long time on the market. And I'm sure that you really tell them how it is, because they will blame a realtor so quickly. You just didn't do the right thing. But if you pre-frame it ahead of time and say, look, just like you said, but the stress of having your house has to be perfect every day. People are coming through it.
Right.
It's not worth it, Anthony.
No. And it is very stressful to live on pins and needles. Is he going to call today? Am I going to have a showing? I'm going to have a dinner party tonight. Tomorrow I'm going to have dishes all over. And it's...
Yeah, you're right. So I'm glad that you have these 3. You give them choices of 3. They should take number 1, of course.
In most cases.
Yeah, and you're really very good at this, and so you can show them the houses that did sell very quickly and why they sold.
Absolutely. If the tables were turned and the seller was buying, they don't want to pay more than what the last house sold for, unless there's something specific in that house. Maybe they don't have to do anything and just move right in and hang their pictures and put their clothes away.
And then the one thing before we leave, we're running out of time, is the condominium board that people now do have to get approved. Does that still go?
Oh, in probably 90% of all condominiums, and some HOAs as well.
And so that takes time, right? So then
It takes about 30 days. Usually they do
so wait a minute, how does that, so then the money's there, it's sitting there, and you have to wait for that approval before
You have to
it
wait
can
for
close?
and in the meantime, you're getting your financing, you're doing your home inspection, so you're spending money. So you don't want to submit an app. You want your realtor to know what the requirements are for that condo or HOA. Sometimes it's credit, and some of these HOAs want a 700 credit score. And you can get financing.
You're kidding.
Oh, yeah, you can get financing with as low as a 580 credit score. So if you're going through all this process and you spent money on an appraisal, you spent money on a home inspection, you spent your time and effort, and you submit an application, and the HOA or condo board comes back and says, oh, no, we have a requirement of a minimum of 700 credit score, you just spent a lot of money.
Anthony, you're so good. I love when you come on the radio and you write your... Everyone, please be sure to read his article and read about, right now we're doing something on pets, and it's wonderful. So it's Anthony Kulp, K-U-L-P, real estate agent. He's your number one real estate agent, right?
That's right.
That's fantastic. And your phone number, of course, again, 954-815-9048. Thank you, Anthony, so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.